touchdown. Time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a Bird Gang Nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling on Philly the podcast. And we can call a man dog or watch Miles score off the handoff. Rest of the division, your man soft. Jackson like Sean, hunting like Randolph. Season here, early time to do them in. Your boy Philly Fresco. Thanks for tuning in.
What's going on, you guys? This is your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco, and it is Philly the podcast. So, as you guys can see, we have a very special guest. It took some family help. It took a lot of here. It took a village, right? But we got him here. We got the man, the legend. I know you hate that word. So we got the legend himself, Derrick Gunn, man. Derrick, it's such a pleasure to have you back on the show. How you been?
Good, man. Good to talk to you again, man. Hope you and yours are doing well.
Hold on, I lost sound again. I don't know what's going on with this.
What?
Everything wants to be against me today. All right, I can hear you again. I'm sorry about that.
All right, you got me now?
I got you now. Everything's going against me today, so it is what it is. It's that voodoo. But like I said, I do appreciate having you on, man. It's been a while, man. It's definitely been a while. I love the new show that you guys got over there on Jacob Media. You guys have been absolutely killing it. It's one of my favorite shows right now. So
thank you, man.
Just appreciate you taking time. But let's hop right into this, man. I know you're a man of many hats, so I know you got things to do. But like I said, it's been about 9 months since I've had you last on the show. Last time we were talking more about expectations. It was a very new team, new coach, new, quarterback-ish. But now we're a year in. So I want to ask you to kind of curtail that. How did you feel the Philadelphia Eagles did last year in meeting or beating your expectations?
Well, they definitely beat the expectations. A lot of people say the season was tainted by the fact that they had such a weak schedule down the stretch. But the bottom line is you can't be held responsible for who's on your schedule. You can only be held responsible for whether you win or lose those games. So because they had such a young team and a new head coach, new coaching staff, to finish over 500 and to get that taste of playoff experience for a lot of these guys is invaluable. Now, of course, they got taken to the woodshed by Tampa, but you're talking about a team that's a Super Bowl caliber team to a team that's trying to find its way. But it was a lot of valuable experience for Nick Sirianni, his coaching staff, Jalen Hurts, Devonta Smith, and a number of other players. So now they know what to expect and what it takes to get to that next level after the regular season. And when you look at some of the things that Howie Roseman has done this offseason and the draft to enhance the product, you have to feel good about where this team stands now on paper, and I emphasize on paper, heading into 2022.
Yeah, like you said, we got taken. Unfortunately, I live in Tampa, and I had to go to that. I didn't have to, but I went to that game. It was not pretty in any sense of the word. But like you said, we got taken to the woodshed. There was obvious improvements that needed to happen, right? The team was very good. It was way better than a lot of people expected. Obviously,
Right.
won more games than 3, but there was improvements needed to be made. We look at this offseason, and I think you can say kind of confidently that they filled most of those holes. There are some question marks here and there. But I want to ask you what, off-season moves really stood out to you, and what kind of picture is this painting for you so far? Like seeing what they're doing, like what stood out to you, and what is it kind of telling you about what this team may want to be?
Well, the two biggest moves obviously was getting Hassan Reddick, who has 23.5 quarterback sacks over the last 2 years to help shore up one of the worst pass rushing defenses in the NFL last year. An offense getting a receiver the caliber of an A.J. Brown to go along with the Devonta Smith and Quez Watkins and those guys. It tells me that Howie Roseman feels this team can win now and do some damage now. They've stood pat from the owner to the general manager to the coaches all off season. They've talked about how they are committed to Jalen Hurts in 2022. They have not wavered from that. They've given him an additional wide receiver, pass catcher, so to speak. I know Sirianni wants to have more of a balanced offense. He doesn't want to have to rely heavily on the run. He wants more balance, more unpredictability in his offense. With a guy like an A.J. Brown, you now have that predictability to go along with Dallas Goedert. He loves to throw the ball to his backside of the backfield. So you have all the weapons you need to keep a defense on its heels now. And a lot of people talk about the pressure's really on for Jalen Hurts, and I'll take it a step further and say I think the pressure's on even more so for Nick Sirianni.
Yeah.
This is your second year now. You've had a full offseason to study the film, to know exactly what Jalen's strengths and weaknesses are. They streamlined the playbook to cater more to Jalen's strengths in 2021. You have to do it even more so now in 2022 to make him a better, more efficient quarterback, and hopefully to take his game to that next level.
Yeah, I actually agree 100% with that. A lot of people, especially in the Twitter sphere and YouTube and all these, all these fan groups, were talking about Jalen like it's all make or break. But I do want to, I'm going to talk about him later. I don't want to go too deep into him, but I do want to kind of stay on AJ Brown for a second. Obviously, that was a huge pickup for the Philadelphia Eagles, having a trio realistically that might honestly combat any that we've had in history. So, what do you think it is that AJ Brown brings to this, team that we may have never seen before?
Well, I don't know about never seen before, but it's been a while since you've had a receiver who brings that kind of physicality to the receiving room. People forget, it's easy to forget AJ Brown is still a young man. He's only been in the league 3 years, but he's already proven his worth in the National Football League. You don't just give a guy $100 million contract on a whim. Howie Roseman, whether you like him or not, Howie Roseman is very, very methodical when it comes to how they spend their money and who they're going to spend their money on. A.J. Brown is a premier talent in the National Football League. Can Jalen Hurts get him the ball enough to satisfy him and Devontae Smith? Can Jalen Hurts run the offense efficient enough to keep the chains moving? A.J. Brown gives you that target. He's a big body target. He's a sure-handed target. He's dropped a few passes here and there, but what wide receiver has not dropped passes? You can move him inside. You can move him outside. So I think just his presence alone enhances that overall wide receiving room.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad you brought up the drops because this it brings me right into my next point, which I love. So we talk about drops, and one of the guys that had one of the lowest drop rates in the NFL is Quez Watkins. And I bring him up to ask this: the third wide receiver spot, while to many fans, I think we want Quez to be that guy, but you got a Pascal there. You still got a Rager there. You still got some veterans there. How do you see that wide receiver room shaking up? Who do you think might take that third spot?
I think we can basically rule out Jalen Rager right now. I think Jalen Rager is hanging on by a thread with his team. I think Howie Roseman is going to do everything he can possible to get Jalen Rager on this 53-man roster this year. Doesn't have to eat a lot of crow in Jalen where he picked him over a guy named Justin Jefferson. So I think he's going to make the team. I think he'll be more of a special teams player. He'll get his touches in the passing game, but he won't be a primary target. He'll be a second or third type target. The room starts with A.J. Brown, quickly goes to Devontae Smith. If Quez Watkins can expand his route tree just a little bit, we know he has a straight ahead speed. If he can expand his route tree just a little bit and become a little bit more of a complete receiver, that helps the product overall as well. I'm not so sure that Jalen Rager isn't your number 5 receiver on this roster. Unfortunately, he's been put under the microscope. He's been told again this offseason by the front office and the coaches, hey, look, you better do something this year, or this could be your make or break year. And what's unfair to him is you have a recent first round draft pick in Devontae Smith. You got to get him the ball. You just spent $100 million on one of the elite receivers in the game at A.J. Brown. You got to get him the ball. You got to get Dallas Goedert the ball. You got to get Quez Watkins the ball. You're going to get the ball to your backside of the backfield. So, as much as you can spread the wealth, there's only so many touches, in a game plan. And Quez Watkins' numbers may go down significantly because of all these other guys who are going to get these touches.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, Eagles fans have seen this kind of thing happen before. I don't even know really what to call it, but we've seen this happen before with a wide receiver, and a lot of us feel it's kind of maybe mental. So I say that to say this: do you think along the road of maybe like a Nelson Aguilar, who kind of came on in his third year and was a big, contributor because we got those two top guys that kind of let him just do what he was good at? Do you think there's a chance that maybe a Jalen Reagor catches on, not having to be that number one guy?
I think Jalen Reagor may be better suited down the road to relocate to another team and get a fresh start. I think there's so much negativity towards him here in Philadelphia. And, players always talk about how, I don't read the newspapers. I don't listen to TV. Well, that's a lie. Either you listen to it and you're not admitting it, or every player has a close-knit circle of people around him that fill him in terms of what's being said out there about him. So in the back of his mind, he knows that a lot of eyes are on him and waiting for him to fail instead of succeed. People don't even hardly mention him now when you talk about the pass catchers on this team. His name is hardly brought up unless something negative is associated with it. I think Jalen Reagor right now has already shown this coaching staff that he is what he is, and that's it, nothing more. And he may be better suited and might even excel if he goes somewhere else. I think his welcome wagon is just about at the end of the road here.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I hope he catches on somewhere. I hope it all clicks together for him. You hate to see that, but
Right.
I want to get a little bit happier now, right? We got that out the way. I want to go back to draft night a little bit and talk about Jordan Davis. Now, Jordan Davis isn't Fletcher Cox by any stretch of the imagination, right? But he's going to be asked to kind of take over that spot. They are two totally different players, in my opinion. But what do you see Jordan Davis do you think he'll be that leader that Fletcher Cox was on the field, being that, just forced to reckon with? What do you see coming out of Jordan Davis?
Well, he has the potential, no question about it. A body that big, able to move laterally the way he does, that's a freak of nature. First of all, Jordan Davis, you have to get his weight under control. I think he'll be a much more effective nose tackle if you keep him in that 330 range and don't let him balloon up to 340. And so hopefully the Eagles training staff and the nutritionists stay on top of him in terms of watching his weight. Number two, you're learning from two proven veterans in Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave. So his learning curve should be a lot easier. The good thing for him is he's a first-round draft pick, but he doesn't have to come in here and be the man right away because you've got a lot of money invested in two guys in front of him. A lot of people don't forget about Milton Williams, had a pretty good year also. So you basically have three guys. You have the older veterans in Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave. You have a younger guy in Milton Williams who can take him under his wing and help him to make the transition from the college ranks to the pros. Jordan Davis played like 38% of the snaps at Georgia last year, and what was a dominant defense, one of probably the best defenses in the history of college football when you look at the number of players that were drafted off that defense. I expect him to be right around that range initially because of the three guys I just mentioned, which is good for him. He can go in, get his feet wet, understand, and get a feel for the speed of the game, and doesn't have to be the man because everybody's looking at him as this high first-round draft pick. As the season progresses, I would imagine if he's learning his lesson well and rapidly, that his numbers will increase. I do believe the Eagles drafted him because they believe this is Fletcher Cox's last year with the Philadelphia Eagles. If that is the case, it would behoove Jordan Davis to absorb as much information and knowledge as he can from a guy who's a proven Pro Bowler and All-Pro who can really help set the stage for him for what's to come next season.
Yeah, and you talk about knowledge, which brings me beautifully into my next point. It's like we had a pre-show meeting or something, but we talk about these guys taking on mentoring roles, right? And you switch to the offensive side. You look at Luke Juriga. I've been hearing a lot of good things about him and Jason Kelsey kind of getting together, meshing. How do you feel Luke Juriga fits into this puzzle? Obviously, people are talking about, say, Amalu. He might fit in there. Do you think he's more of a project than people may think right now, or do you think he might be ready to go in there and start?
I think he's more of a project, and it's going to take some time, but he will be tutored by one of the best offensive line coaches in the National Football League, and Jeff Stoughton. Right now, the Eagles have one of the best, if not the best, offensive line tackle to tackle in the National Football League. You look at the two bookend tackles they have in Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata. You look at Landon Dickerson, who they shifted over from the right side to the left side. He was much more comfortable on the left side than he was at the right side. Kelsey, this could be his swan song with this team, but the fact is Kelsey came back for 2022. They got the kid Cam Jurgens. They've got Jack Driscoll. They've got Isaac Seumalo. Sua Opeta. They have a lot of interchangeable parts there that already have some proven commodity under their belt. So I think this young kid, you know what, if they really like him, they're not going to let him get away. And he's going to learn. And I will say this about the Eagles offensive line. They have, and through the years, they have been such a good group of guys in terms of helping newcomers who come in that make the transition. You know, I can't say enough about these guys, you know, pulling people up with them because they know where they want to go. You know, you go to a lot of places where, you know, players are like, I'm not going to help him take my job, you know. But this Eagles group, you know, the way they're coached up and the way they approach their game, you know, they're all about, hey, get as many people ready as possible because you never know when somebody is going to go down, and they want to make sure. They take a lot of pride in what they do up front. They want to make sure whoever gets that call is ready to deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about this offensive line. I think looking forward, you're set, right? You're set right now, like you said, probably top 3 at the very, very worst offensive line. And then future-wise, you feel like you have some guys that can definitely step in and make some headway. I'm excited about where this team is. Now, I do want to talk about, we talked about how we did fill a lot of holes, right? One group position that I know a lot of people are still a little bit worried about is the safety position. Obviously,
Right.
a little bit of, you know, there's rumors that we might still be wheeling and dealing, but I want to ask about the guys on the field. I mean, how much confidence do you have in a Marcus Epps taking that next step, and a Kayvon Wallace and an Anthony Harris?
Well, I know the coaching staff likes them. Now they have to go out and do it. And, you know, this is where the Eagles front office and coaching staff will closely critique that position, both safety positions. And knowing what I know about Howie Roseman, if they don't feel comfortable, you know, I before they even got James Bradbury, I had said, and Howie had alluded to, Howie was on our show Sports Talk with me, Rob Ellis, and Bears Brooks. And Howie basically told us that they're still out there looking at the cornerback spot prior to James Bradbury. And I had said in hindsight on a number of occasions, knowing what I know about Howie will go through the OTAs and the mini camps and even in the training camp, and he'll scour the waiver wires because a lot of good veteran players are going to be released, and he would pick up a cornerback opposite Darius Slade off the waiver wires once all the cuts come in September, early September. Lo and behold, a few days later, he makes a deal to get Bradbury here from the Giants. And I'll say the same thing about the safety spot. You can't have Pro Bowlers at every spot. You've got to develop young kids if you're continuously building this team and trying to keep this team in the playoff conversation. You know, some teams have to take 2 steps back to get 2 steps ahead. The Eagles are in a position right now, they have enough talent on both sides of the football. They can be relevant for years to come. You know, There's a lot of ifs. And I'll say that with the safety spots, with Wallace and Marcus Epps, it's on them to take the bull by the reins now and show this organization that they're ready. You know, they both made some mistakes, young player mistakes last year. How much have they improved in terms of film study, getting their minds and bodies right for what's to come? We're going to find that out in the days and weeks and months to come, sure enough. But going in right now, as we look at it, I would say the weak link on that defense is both safety spots.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. And I think that Marcus Epps and Kayvon and, you know, all of them, if they were on here right now, I think they would say, all right, cool, let's go out there. I think that's where Eagles fans, Eagles players want to be. We love to be the underdog. So I like it. I'm not mad at it. And like you said, bringing on James Bradbury, already having a Darius Slay, you got a Devontae Maddox. Hopefully it masks a little bit of their inefficiencies and just helps them grow. Now, talking about someone else that grew, I'd be remiss to not bring up Hurts. I have to, you know, I feel like every time you have somebody on, you got to say at least one thing about Hurts. Last year, we were talking about what he could be. We were trying to figure out who he was. Now we kind of know, right? We kind of know his strengths and his weaknesses. Obviously, he can improve. But going into this year, what are you trying to see from Jalen Hurts? What does Jalen Hurts have to do to you to prove that he can, you know, get that second contract?
I want to see Jalen be more accurate, especially in the intermediate passing game. I want to see him not be as skittish. When the pocket starts collapsing, don't be so quick to take off and run. You look at the better quarterbacks in the game, they stay in there and wait to get somebody freed up. Don't be so quick to take off and run. I want to see him go through his progressions a lot better. You know, people keep talking about he can't throw the deep ball. He can throw a decent deep ball. He may not have the strongest arm in the league, but he is far from the weakest arm in the league. If he gets better in the areas of being more of a better pocket presence, more accuracy, reading defenses better, going through progressions better, this Eagles team has a good chance of doing some damage, not just in the regular season, but the postseason as well. Nobody's going to take this challenge on more so than a Jalen Hurts. This young man is mature far beyond his years. He understands what's at stake here for him. He understands this could be a make or break year for him. He has been working diligently in the offseason with quarterback gurus out in California. He's been in his playbook. He understands fully now what Nick Sirianni expects of him. And so now we're going to find out. We cannot sit here today in early June and say, okay, Jalen Hurts is this, that, or the other. We won't even be able to say that in training camp and preseason games, because you're not going to see him much in preseason games. More and more teams now are keeping their frontline players out of preseason games. We really won't know what we're seeing from a Jalen Hurts until they hit the ground running and the bullets are flying for real in mid-September. But in terms of just getting ready for what's to come, I have the utmost confidence that Jalen Hurts is preparing to take his game to the next level. How that translates to when the games actually are for real, and you got defenses trying to take your head off and playing games and schemes with you, it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think that like we've been saying, there's a positive outlook to all. Last year, we were just trying to kind of figure out who we were. This year, there's a real chance that, like you said, Howie probably feels like this is a team that if the quarterback plays his position, everybody plays their position, we might have a real shot. So I'm excited. I'm excited. Now, I don't want to keep you too long. I got a couple more questions and I'll get you out of here. I know you hate record predictions. I know that. I know you don't like doing record predictions. So I'm not going to ask. I'm not going to ask for a record prediction. But last time you were on here, you said that a bar for success would be around 500, right? 9-8, 8-9.
Right.
I just want to ask you, do you think that bar has risen? And if so, how much?
I think so. I think that, before the offseason, I felt that Dallas was still the cream of the crop in the NFC East. Well, Amari Cooper is gone. They've lost key offensive linemen. They've lost a few defensive personnel. I think the only advantage Dallas has right now is Dak Prescott, and that's only because he has way more experience playing the game than Jalen Hurts does. Dallas still has a couple of great pass catchers in Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb. You still got Ezekiel Elliott back there. But whereas a couple of months ago, I would have picked Dallas as the odds-on favorite to win the NFC East, I think the Eagles are neck and neck right there with them. And after all the moves the Eagles made, from Bradbury to A.J. Brown to Hassan Reddick, Kazir White, I can't say that Dallas is better than the Eagles as we sit here. I think it's going to be a coin toss, and I think it's going to be a neck and neck race between those two until the bitter end. I think the key will be which team is the healthiest down the stretch. Yeah. Now, with that said, keep an eye on Washington. Yes, I understand Carson Wentz is a quarterback down there, but they got a receiver in the first round. Washington's defense is legit. Their front seven is legit. Washington could upset the apple cart in some ways down there. But in terms of just who the cream of the crop is in the NFC East, I say right now the Eagles and the Cowboys are neck and neck, and the Eagles have as good a chance as the Cowboys do to win that division.
Definitely. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. That's what you want to hear going into a season, right? Now, like the last question I want to ask you, it is me and my girlfriend's 1-year anniversary, right? And her whole family's from Philadelphia. Her father is an absolute huge fan of yours. And he wanted me to ask you this. He wanted me to ask you, since starting your own show, do you feel that it gives you, and this is a good question, do you feel that it has given you more freedom and made it a little bit easier to interview these players? Because like you said, on Sports Take, you guys have had everybody. You guys, down to Howie Roseman.
We don't pull punches. No, to be honest, no. Because when I was working for NBC, my approach was the same: to be honest, yet be fair. And I think that's why the players respected me and kept coming back for more interviews. They knew I wasn't out to get them. I wasn't going to embarrass them. And there were times before the lights went on the camera, we would have a discussion about, hey, man, I'm going to ask you this, that, or the other. And at times they would say, hey, no, don't ask me that today. And they would respect that. So the next time I'd have to ask a tougher question, they were all right with it because I did them a favor the previous week. On the format that I have now with Barrett Brooks and Rob Ellis, no, I have the same approach. The difference is we have a lot more fun with it now. You're not confined, because it's a 3-hour show. I'm not confined to 2 and 3 minute interviews like I was when I'm doing interviews outside the locker room. So yeah, I'm still me. I'm not going to change. I've been in this game over 43 years. I'm not going to change. Being me is what got me this far.
Heck yeah.
Being fair, objective, honest, insightful, thorough. Those are the things that have gotten me this far. Those are the things that not just players and coaches and front office people respect, but the fans of this region, that I've called it like I see it. You don't always have to agree with me, but I'm going to call it like I see it regardless. And no matter who we have on our show, even the people that don't know me, sometimes Rob Ellis gets a guest, sometimes, Barrett gets a guest. They may not know me, but I'm still going to be that same guy. I'm not out to embarrass you, but it's my job to ask certain tough questions. I wouldn't be true to who I am if I didn't. So, no, I haven't changed one bit in terms of that, my approach to how I interview subjects.
That's awesome. I remember one thing that you said to me and Brandon, like early on in our podcast life, and you said before we even got on live, you were like, listen, there's a million stories that I've told. There's a million that I haven't.
That's right.
And that's how you were able to gain that trust. That's always stuck with me. So I always appreciate you for that.
I tell you what's funny. A couple of weeks ago, because I'm on the board. I'm on the board of directors of the Brian Dawkins Impact Foundation, his charity. And 2 weeks ago, he held his first annual golf tournament out at Penn Oaks, near Chadsford and Glen Mill, PA area. And so I'm out there and I'm seeing a few things. And then on the day of the golf event, I'm sitting out there in a big sectional area under a canopy with Ike Reese, Trotter, Chad Lewis, Harold Carmichael, Brian Westbrook, Corey Simon. Oh my goodness, the list just goes on and on. Willie T, William Thomas. And so they were about to take pictures. They were going to take a group picture, and I said, Leo, let me get up and get out of the way. And Trotter and Ike Reese said, no, dude, you stay right there. You were as much a part of us as we were because of, D Gunn, we could always tell you stuff and you wouldn't tell anybody. That's why we kept coming back to you on the post-game show, because we knew you had our back. We knew you had tough questions to answer. Even days that we didn't want to talk to you, we did it for you, D. So you stay right where you are. And then all of a sudden, Trotter, he said in unison, but if D Gunn ever writes a book, we got to kill him. So I told him, I said, don't worry, that book will never come out. But that's the truth. If I ever wrote a book, about the Eagles and what I've known about the Eagles since I've joined the Philadelphia market in 1997, I'd probably have to go to witness protection program and have a few people after me. I probably wouldn't even tell my family where I am for a few months. But you know what? But that's a lesson for everybody. You don't have to be the guy who always gets the story. Enough stories will come to you if you treat people a certain way. Athletes are already leery of the media, especially when you get to big markets. When you're in a market like Buffalo, Green Bay, Cincinnati, where you got 15, 20 people, athletes get a better feel for who they're dealing with. But when you're in a market like New York and Philadelphia, in Philadelphia alone, sometimes you got 50, 60 media people crammed in the locker room trying to get interviews. And especially with the new players, their heads are swimming trying to figure out who's legit and who's fake, And so I've been fortunate to have players pass the baton before they left. Hey, this guy here is one of the guys you can trust, And so there's some things that you wish you could tell, but there are a lot of things you're better off not telling, because I think about if I was in that situation, there's certain things I wouldn't want to get out as well. And I appreciate those who kept those secrets. So, it's like Trot and Ike Reese said, D Gunn, you're one of us because you were one of us. Okay. And so I'm just going to leave it at that.
I respect that. And that's why we love you, Gunn. That's why we love you, man. That's why I call you a legend. All right. I'm going to keep doing it.
You said legend. I'm looking on like, who the heck you talking about here, man? Legend. Hey, I'm just a good old country boy, man. Enjoying what I do.
Hey, one of these days I'm gonna need an invite to one of y'all fishing trips. I keep hearing about all these boats and all these handy dandy and all these crazy boats. I mean, you've been on the show like 4 times. You like my uncle now. You gotta, maybe. But no, I appreciate you so much. Every time it's even better than the last. So I really can't thank you enough for your time. But anything you want to tell the people before we do get out of here?
Just basically, hey, watch our show is called Sports Take. It's with the Jacob Sports Media Network. It's on his YouTube channel. Show has been blowing up. We've had my boy Brandon Graham. We've had Brian Dawkins. We've had Chris Long on there. My goodness, I can't even begin it. We've had Howie Roseman, Ray Dittinger, the Hall of Famer himself, Ray Dittinger. And, I'm going to get my boy DJ Jazzy Jeff on there eventually. It's hard to pin him down. That dude's all over the world. So I'll get him on there as well. It's myself, Rob Ellis, and former Eagle Barrett Brooks. We're on noon to 3 Eastern time, Monday through Friday. And we don't just stick to sports. The majority of what we talk about is sports. But, dude, sometimes it's like watching the WWE Royal Rumble. We get into the dogs, grandchildren, kids, stuff outside of sports, man. And the show takes on a life of its own. We have a comment section where you can comment if you want. If your comment makes any sense, you're not being stupid. A lot of times we'll give you props and make reference to your comment and talk about that as well. So it's a lot of fun, like I knew it would be, with two guys I've worked with and respect. I've worked with them a long time, have the utmost respect for them. Don't forget Gunn on One, the podcast is always out there. I'm doing what I do. And, those are just the two primary things right now. So, hey, everybody stay in tune with what D-Gun's doing because you just never know. Things are changing, man. People keep approaching me about certain things. So stay tuned. Who knows? Another announcement could be coming. Never know.
I love it. Well, let me know. And, if you want to announce it to my people, I'll never say no. You know what I'm saying? but God, I can't say thank you enough, man. I really do appreciate it. But we are going to get out of here, man. I appreciate everybody that's tuned in as well. Be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe, join the family. We are on that road to 4K. We are so close. So be sure to hit that like and subscribe and definitely go check out Sports Day. It is one of the funniest shows. You guys do break down sports, which obviously I love, but you guys are absolutely hilarious. Those rants in the morning, talk about your dogs, talk about the fishing. I love it.
The funniest thing is Rob Ellis's wife and my wife will get on there and start making comments. Barrett Brooks' mother, his brother, and will get on there and start making comments. And all of a sudden, hey, we bring the family in. There's nobody safe on this show. I'm telling you right now.
I love it, man. So definitely go check them out, man. But we are out of here. Appreciate y'all all, but y'all know what it is, man. It is Fly Eagles Fly, and we are out here. Peace.
Everywhere. This is for you.
Fly Eagles flying on the team. Touchdown. Time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a Bird Gang Nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling on Philly the podcast. And we can call a man dog or watch Miles score off the handoff. Rest of the division, your man saw Jackson like Sean, hunting like Randolph.